Got there. So we're currently presenting from the traditional lands of the Wangal and Watagura people, the Darug Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present. We move to our next slide. We have titled this presentation, The Dance of Asha. Asha means hope. And we are going to present a mind-body approach to address the cultural nuances of sexual assault and refugee trauma. In our presentation, we will tell the story of Asha, the dance of Asha. Asha is the name we have given to our client. It's not her real name, of course, and we have received her permission to present. And we hope to present something that is creative and quite unique to illustrate the very collaborative nature of our work. And we hope to present this integrated approach within a biopsychosocial framework to consider the very complex issues between multimodal approaches and to really hone in to the need for active listening to the cultural context of an individual's lived experience.
This figure recognizes that our work at STARTS may be located at the intersection of these three circles. A complex intersection representing challenges of a normal life cycle, navigating refugee trauma experiences, and negotiating settlement distress. Also important is an active understanding of the broader social context, including national and international issues. Some of the boundaries in this figure are fluid and may cross over. They're all positioned within a dominant Western ideology applied to understanding the complex face of refugee trauma. To elaborate further, we will present to you our dance of hope with Asha. Asha is in her mid-40s. She's married and she has one daughter. She comes from a prominent Hindu family from India. I don't see India being mentioned by Lata in the many lists of countries that she presented. Asha has a terminally ill Christian friend and who requests Asha to visit the church and intercede for her recovery. Her niece undergoing chemotherapy repeats this request when Asha's friend gets better. So Asha begins to visit the church more frequently. Asha's visit to church are noticed and she begins to receive threats and is harassed by a few men in the neighborhood. Her family, who are prominent Hindus, as I mentioned, reject her and allegedly kidnap her teenage daughter. Asha and her husband have not since seen their teenage daughter. Asha claims that attempts were made to poison her husband. She is then gang raped, and in fear, she flees to her husband's shop in the city. Asha and her husband initially relocate to New Delhi, but as the threats continued, in fear of their lives, both Asha and her husband flee to Australia in March 2019, leaving their only child behind. Now, Asha's first contact with STARTS is in August 2019. Her counselor noted that Asha reported symptoms of avoidance, intrusion, and arousal. Asha is triggered by loud sounds. She dissociates, reportedly hearing voices and seeing things. Asha is always tired and in a lot of pain. Asha is also suicidal. She has attempted suicide in India by hanging and attempting to burn herself. In Australia, she begins to self-harm, attempting to slash her wrists. And due to the severe presentation, Asha is referred to the crisis team. She's hospitalized, and after her hospitalization, she's prescribed antipsychotic medication. Asha reports severe side effects to this medication. She shuts down and no longer wants to talk about her past or engage in counseling.
Why physiotherapy? Her referring counsellor at the time felt stuck because Asha had been attending counseling sessions, but was communicating poorly and dissociating in the sessions. She was also complaining of chronic neck pain and headaches. And because my approach is multidimensional and multimodal, we thought that Asha may benefit from my intervention. So I saw her first in December 2020. And around that time, she also had a change of counsellors. My practice of physiotherapy is integrative and trauma-focused. It's primarily designed to influence the chronic pain cycle. However, it's also influenced by approaches, trauma-sensitive approaches, such as those highlighted by John Arden, Judith Herman, Bessel van der Kolk, Janina Fisher, Stephen Porges, and Dan Siegel. My basic tenet is that suffering is deeply imprinted in the body. Reactions that involve the brain, the sympathetic nervous system, the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis spread right through the body. And the body's stress mechanisms are activated when traumatic experiences threaten one's sense of safety, threaten one's sense of satisfaction, connection, and inevitably leading to illness. And indeed, the body does keep the score. And in Asha, it affected her in these ways. She was hearing voices. She was fearful, and this manifested as shaking in her body, but also she was very rigid. She had extreme difficulty in accepting touch, as you can understand, and she dissociated. Her persistent complaint was pain, pain, pain. I'm tired. Therefore, physiotherapy had to be within her window of tolerance. I had to take enormous care with touch, as going near her neck, where she complained of pain, triggered the voices and also her dissociation. Hence, I had to work away in the beginning from this area, making her more comfortable to receive touch. And in fact, I began with movement. Gentle neck and body exercises helped release the neck pain, but also helped to ground Asha. The techniques that I used were varied. They, in addition to ground her, they also enhanced the flow to unblock these emotions that were stuck within her. I always started with grounding techniques, and including movement, which can help ground you, gradually progressing to the use of touch. Asha really responded to work with breathing. It brought her into the present moment, and it was a bridge between mind and body. Many creative processes were used during the session. My love for dance was incorporated into helping Asha connect with her own culture and move in that way. And Asha also loved art, so we used to look at drawings to help her express herself. When she stopped dissociating in the sessions, I introduced her to some integrative acupuncture, a beautiful technique which can help calm the sympathetic nervous system, disperse stuck energy, ease pain, and to help sleep.
Asha was referred to me in May 2021, but she was very reluctant, as I said earlier, to engage in talk therapy, so she missed her first session. I actually saw Asha for the first time in June 2021, and due to logistical challenges, we had agreed to meet on the same day. Asha and her husband needed assistance to get to STARTS, and we'd like to thank the CLSR team for organizing that so that she could then see us both together on the same day. When I first met with Asha, I could barely hear what she was saying. She appeared frozen and numb. She told me clearly she did not wish to engage in talk therapy. She could barely tolerate 15 minutes of the session, and she told me she didn't want to speak. So most of our 15 minutes was spent in silence. And all that she said was that, do not ask me questions. I do not wish to talk about my past. So in a way, we agreed to ignore the elephant in the room. I was not willing to pathologize and medicalize a woman who had lost her home, her daughter, and her sense of self, and who was instead labeled with an illness. Asha was clearly overwhelmed by her traumatic memories of the past, and she needed to ignore them. Physiotherapy assisted Asha to regain connection and restore that connection with her body. And as her body began to release tension, her blocked thoughts and feelings appeared to be reawakened and were released. So we titrated attention then to the challenging thoughts and feelings whenever they emerged. And Asha was given the permission to withdraw them or to stop or to suppress these emotions if she felt too threatened. So what we ended up exploring was what Asha was comfortable with, what Asha was familiar with, and what was positive. And this really meant we talked about Mother Earth, Mother India, and Asha as mother. What then gradually began to happen was that the break between physiotherapy and counseling sessions gradually narrowed. Asha was all ready to come into a counseling session, which was literally across the room, and start with me. The counseling time also began to increase, and Asha voluntarily began to talk about her sexual assault. She began to share her dreams or her bad dreams and her nightmares. And that's when I realized that the elephant had entered the room. Veena and I would often talk and chat about what was occurring. And rather than tell you what we talked about or what eventuated, we thought that we'll present a vignette of a sequence that occurred in one of our sessions. Now in this vignette, I will be myself and I will play the narrator, while Veena will be herself, but she will also play the role of Asha. Veena was speaking to Asha when I entered the room. Asha seemed to be deep in thought, her eyes semi-closed. She raised her head and right arm to acknowledge or welcome me to the room. I sit in the empty chair to Asha's right, facing her.
Asha said she had gone to an art class, but felt upset that she could not share with others about her family as they could. I can hear the men laughing. I can hear their voices.
What are the voices saying?
You're going there, but no one is helping you. I really want to come to see you both. I feel comfortable and safe when I come here. But I also feel upset. The voices are strong and say I cannot get help. They come automatically. They laugh at me. They say they'll follow me wherever I go.
Can you hear them now, Asha?
Yes.
Asha began murmuring as if talking to herself or maybe someone. Her speech became blurry. She appeared to dissociate. Her fingers began to tremble. Asha rubs her hands in an attempt to gain control. Veena then quickly moves towards Asha and holds her hands, massaging them gently. I now notice the acupuncture needles.
Asha, can you hear me? Feel your feet on the floor. Yes, that's good. Now breathe like we've done before.
Veena takes the needles out one at a time, gently massaging Asha's neck and shoulders. Asha appears more relaxed. She opens her eyes slightly, and she's very apologetic as Veena removes needles from her feet. Asha, can you hear the voices?
Yes.
You can ask them to leave if you want to. Veena and I are here, you know. We are here to support you.
Yes, we're both here for you, Asha.
Asha, you can ask them to leave. Yell at them in any language and say whatever you want to them.
Po, very po. Meaning go outside.
Asha's voice is strong. She's assertive and she speaks in her mother tongue.
I found my lost jewelry. I'm happy I found my ring, my necklace, a few other pieces of jewelry, wardrobe, in my wardrobe at home. They were given by my family. Nobody liked me going to church.
Asha gently strokes her chest and tummy as she remembers her daughter. Asha, is there something you would like to say to your daughter?
Yes. I love you.
Asha said bye and left the room. And she returned a few seconds later to show us her artworks. Asha's world had been shattered, and I felt it was important to attend to her life, to her story, to understand who she was and what was meaningful to her in her life. Coming from a dominant culture that is Hindu, like in many cultures, women's purity is sacred, and as Lata mentioned, rape is a private matter. Asha was clearly swimming against the tide. And although hesitant, Asha began to share basic things about her existence, her being in the world, her lack of trust and her shame, and then her assault. Asha seemed more ready to speak about the voices she was heard, because voice hearing is common in many cultures, and it could also be considered a special gift in some cultures. Trauma, of course, can play a significant role in the onset and maintenance of voice hearing. Voice content may reflect elements of the traumatic event, and voice hearing is common across many trauma-related disorders, but it's not always recognized. And importantly, voice hearing is not always equivalent to having a psychotic disorder.
So Asha's life is in abeyance. She has lost so much: her daughter, her family, her country, her identity. Culturally, rape has made her an object of shame, as her purity and modesty have been defined. And her religious choices have further stigmatized her. She holds deep and painful emotions within: grief, loss, shame, fear, anger. Her life is frozen. Have we made a difference? With difficulties in conducting formal evaluation of pain and other psychological measures, Pearl and I have had to reflect very carefully on what has shifted. Very keen observation and listening to ourselves, to Asha, have been essential for this reflection. So what's changed? A couple of weeks ago, I invited Asha to tell me what she thought had changed, and she drew these two drawings for me. The one on top, where she said, before I had pain, it was like in my head, hammering. It doesn't stop day and night. And I was afraid. My mind was empty and I had no trust. And that you can see this, the drawing is in darker colors and thicker colors. Now she said, some days, okay, happy. But still those voices come. Afraid now also, but better. Dreams I get, I'm hiding. My mind is confused when the voices come. Pain then is worse, but now it's lighter. It still comes and goes, like nerves pulling, but it goes away. I asked Asha to draw for me how she felt when she was happy. She spent the next 20 minutes and just drew this very lovely picture. And she drew it in silence. So what was unlocked? Now, Asha rarely dissociates in sessions. She attends more regularly and on her own without necessarily coming with the support worker. Her posture is tall. She actually stands tall and is able to say no to the voices. She describes the voices and their impact on her. She's very aware of what happens in the body when she hears the voices. But she hears them less, even though she has ups and downs. And she reports improved functioning on multiple levels. She's able to articulate past negative experiences much more clearly and able to recall the content of her nightmares now. Previously, she was unable to do so. And she describes her difficulties. She says, before I couldn't remember what I do, what happened. Now I know my body shakes when I think about these things. However, she can access happiness. Now I can plan my day. I paint, I water plants, I play with the cats. Sometimes I feel okay to go outside. I go shopping with my husband. Group at starts. You know, I did Mehendi painting the other day. But sometimes I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything. I wonder what has happened to my life, what I did. Sometimes happy, like coming from after the beach. So whether she's talking about negative experiences or day-to-day things, Asha is much more engaged and her voice is stronger, her speech is clearer and more normal pacing of the voice. Her speech flows without being stuck. We have chosen to refer to this process as a jugalbandi. Jugalbandi is a term that's used in Indian music and dance, and it means an intertwining. And this lovely connection that we had and this collaborative work really was this intertwining, this jugalbandi. And it occurred because we were able to pay attention to Asha's identity, to reflect her being in the world. Cultural humility assisted trust. Both of us accepted Asha's pace, despite ourselves feeling stuck in phases that appeared very stagnant. There was enormous openness in the sessions, and Asha was directly part of the collaboration with both Pearl and myself.
We also acknowledged the complexity and the impact of the interplay between the socio-political context of Asha's lived experiences, her deep feelings of grief and the invisible losses, our commonalities within the context of cultural humility. We all come from different parts of India, and it's a very diverse cultural background that we come from. We critically reflected on our practice, and this reflexivity helped us question our assumptions. It facilitated understanding of Asha's experiences and also helped us revisit our own frames of reference related to our practice. And it led us towards understanding better how one size does not fit all, and our need to really be able to be flexible and humble when working with Asha. Asha's voice needed to be heard, to be listened to deeply, to understand what she really needed.
So coming towards the end of our presentation, we really must understand the language of the body and be aware that it mirrors the mind. Very artful and thoughtful jugalbandi between counseling and physiotherapy held the key to breaking the ice in Asha, giving her voice and dynamism. She was awakened. Cultural sensitivity was part of this beautiful dance, and it played a crucial part in helping the ice of trauma to melt. For the client who's deeply traumatized and afraid to express themselves, we need to give them time to heal. The word Asha in Sanskrit means hope, and this is the beginning of her healing.
Thank you.